Well, here we are, it's December 6th and it's 22 degrees outside, and you can see that in here I can't see my breath. I'm guessing it's in the mid to upper 40s. What we're doing right now is we're getting ready to do some harvesting. Right here we've got the first 5 beds full of winter kale. These plants were seeded in the end of July, transplanted, well, they must have been actually seeded in August, transplanted in here sometime beginning of October. I don't like to, well, there's 2 ways that you can do this. We can be fairly mature going into winter, or with new active growth. What we want to do is get this stuff pretty well picked back sometime in the next 2 weeks before we really get into the later part of December. Once we start getting really cold and gray, things aren't going to grow, and this is kind of like a big refrigerator in here. As the leaves are still hooked to the plants, even if they freeze, when the sun comes out and we get above freezing, we can pick these. But we're not going to want to let a whole bunch of leaf stand over the winter, because we may end up losing it, or visually it may not look perfect anymore. So you're better off to pick it back all the way back to about 2 true leaves, and then wait for regrowth. And as soon as about January 15th hits, the light cycle will start to come back and things will start to move again. So this has really worked quite well for us and a number of other growers in Michigan. As you can see, we've got different stages of maturity going on here. Some of these greens have been picked back, for our spring mix, and are picked back to what I would consider under control, which is 2 to 3 leaves on the plant. So the idea is that we'll get all of these picked back to 2 to 3 true leaves before winter really hits, and then we're going to let this stuff just sit under the 3rd layer of plastic. So we got mid 40s in here. Under the 3rd layer of plastic, we're actually going to be in the 50s. Unless we go below 0, once we get to about 5 to 10 below 0, things are going to start to really suffer under here, especially if that cold stays for extended periods of time. Now, the best case scenario is the sun comes out, after these cold days, and we're going to store heat in the ground here. And then when we pull the 3rd layer of plastic at night, you're going to have a microclimate under here. So, we can continue harvesting produce in a northern climate like this all winter long, as we're careful about what we grow and our management practices. Now, you can see we're into some pretty mature lettuce here. These heads of lettuce will not hold through the winter, so we need to harvest these in the next 2 weeks and sell them, or they'll start to become damaged as things get really cold. But we have planned for that, and we'll actually continue as these heads of lettuce come out. You can see here was some romaine lettuce that got harvested yesterday. These beds are actually clear, and we'll come in here with plugs that come out of our grow room, and we'll replant basically into just spinach. Spinach is one of the crops that seems to do the best in the wintertime production. It doesn't matter how cold it gets, it's never really damaged. Right now we've just added a 2nd year-round vegetable production greenhouse like this, and we're adding a 3rd. And that'll give us production, 12 months a year. And then one of the things that's most exciting is to be able to turn this space into, we'll be picking tomatoes out of here in June when we're just setting transplants out in the field. So for typical field production, you put a plant in the ground in June. You don't pick anything till really mid-August. So these hoop houses buy you about 2 months on either side. So, if we backtrack 2 months, we'd be into October basically, and this is what things would look like outside in October as far as winter greens production. So, if you can, and you taste winter greens that are grown in a greenhouse and have been subjected to cold temperature, they get a lot sweeter. There's a higher sugar content. It just tastes better than something that was shipped across the country, and you'll notice the difference in taste and texture. It's a lot of fun in the winter to be able to come in here on a sunny day in January and see green things growing and start thinking about spring. And if the sun's out, it's 80 in here, and that's a beautiful thing.